What's up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is John. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we do product reviews. Today we're doing the Apple Watch Ultra 1 month later, and actually you get 2 extra months for clicking on this video as a bonus. I've worn this watch actually for 3 months, just a quick disclaimer, but it's not a year yet, so I figured we would do just a 1 month review. Today we're going to talk about the Apple Watch Ultra, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I have about 11 points I need to make, and basically to keep things simple, because there are a lot of things that I discuss in this video, it's just a simple like and dislike video. What I like about the watch, what I dislike about it, and pretty much everything in between. Like I said, just a simple like and dislike. Let's go ahead and start with point number 1. Number 1, the first thing I like about the Apple Watch Ultra is you can have up to 50 watch faces installed. What I did was actually take one from each category. So I have pretty much all of them with the exception of 2 or 3 and actually several duplicates. I haven't used all of them yet, but I do enjoy picking one out before, during, or after each occasion or situation. For at home, for example, my go-to watch face is the classic jellyfish, since I normally like to just sit around and read or watch TV. I think the jellyfish is kind of funny because it's kind of like a blob in the water, which is similar to me sitting around and being lazy, right? Or, for example, if I'm going to work, I bike to work, I use the Wayfinder watch face. It has wind speed and direction calculations, as well as the UVI index. It's a chronometer, so it's easy to see how much time I have left before I get to where I'm going, that sort of thing. And then, like I said, you can install up to 50 watch faces. So like I said, I downloaded one from each category. Still kind of experimenting with that, seeing, which watch face is right for each occasion. But say if I go out with my dad or friends at the beginning of the day, but maybe have work later in the day, I use the GMT face. It helps me sort of get a good idea of how much time I have left before work starts. Simple things like that really help you plan and organize your day. Again, you can have up to 50 watch faces. What I did was download one from each category. Point number 2, this is what I found adding a line and using cellular on Apple Watch Ultra. And really, I think you can sort of say Apple Watch in general if you get the cellular version and add a line. What you will find yourself doing is leaving the iPhone at home. And actually, the other day, what I found was it's hit or miss. Not because the Apple Watch gets poor cell reception, for example. That's not an issue. I get great reception everywhere with it. Me personally, I like taking photography. I like recording things. When I was out and left my iPhone at home, there was something I saw I wanted to take a picture of. I could not take a picture of it because the Apple Watch does not have a camera. But what you will find is connecting your Apple Watch, or if you get the Ultra, connecting it to cellular, you will find leaving your iPhone at home. But what I found was in my car, I had troubles connecting to the radio using Bluetooth to listen to Apple Music. One of the things that I enjoy doing is going for a ride and connecting to Apple Music over Bluetooth and listening to my playlist. Or maybe I have a podcast I listen to. You can listen to podcasts on the Apple Watch. There is a podcast app. And what I found was trying to connect it to my Bluetooth in my car, I could not do it, meaning if I was going anywhere in my car and wanted to experiment using the Apple Watch without the iPhone, away from the iPhone, if I wanted to listen to music in the car, I had to bring my iPhone with me. So if you're thinking about traveling light with the Apple Watch, going in your car, using Bluetooth in your car, not bringing the iPhone with you, that sort of thing, maybe you want to refrain from using your iPhone for a day for whatever reason. If you want to listen to music in the car, just make sure that you can connect to it first. So that was point number 2. point number 3, let's talk about the premium materials such as the titanium in particular and the sapphire crystal. The sapphire crystal refers to the glass over the display at the top of the device. The sapphire crystal is available on the Series 8 stainless steel, not the aluminum. The aluminum version uses the Ion X glass, but on this Apple Watch Ultra, it's appropriate to use sapphire crystal because sapphire crystal actually ranks number 9 on what is called the Moore scale of hardness rating, and the scale ranges from 1 to 10, so sapphire crystal being a 9, the only thing that can scratch sapphire crystal is diamond. So for an $800 smartwatch, you do get premium materials. The titanium is soft, it's neutral, absorbs harsh sunlight like the aluminum, but it's also lightweight like the aluminum. And what I mean by it absorbs the sunlight is if you take the stainless steel model, say on a bike ride or out hiking, and you look at it, it's extremely reflective, right? Almost to the point where it can blind you if you shine it directly in your eye if it, deflects off the stainless steel case. But with the titanium, it's kind of like this matte brushed finish. It sort of absorbs the light, it neutralizes it, makes the watch easy to look at. So that's one thing that I really like about the titanium. But one thing I wanted to talk about in particular was the sapphire crystal, which, like I said, you can get on the Series 8 stainless steel and also comes on the Apple Watch Ultra. If you're hiking with this, if you're being active with it, working in the yard with your hands, doing anything that you can see yourself banging this up against something, the sapphire crystal is the 9th hardest material. The only thing that can scratch it is diamond. So yes, it's an $800 smartwatch, but the good thing about having sapphire crystal is you can use it, abuse it, and a year from now, 2 years from now, because this is an expensive watch and you should expect to be able to continue using this for quite some time. What's most important is that because the display is so good at resisting scratches, it's always easy to just look at a glance and check the time. I can't stress enough, if you buy a cheap smartwatch, chances are the glass on it is maybe not even glass and maybe more of a plastic, which scratches easily, and eventually after a month or two, and especially after a year, you'll find that because the display is so scratched, it's hard to read the time and actually almost discourages you from looking at the time. So having something sapphire crystal makes it really easy to continue just looking at, telling the time. It's an enjoyable thing to look at and be able to tell the time without there being abrasions on the screen to distract you from gathering some of that important information. And in addition, as far as materials go, I think it's important that we talk about the bands or the straps. So buying an Apple Watch Ultra, it comes with 3 different types of bands. Of course, each band is available in 3 colors, but you can get the Ocean Loop, which is a rubber silicone strap. That is great if you're going in the water, scuba diving, fishing, snorkeling. But also where a rubber band like the Ocean Band is good to use is preparing and eating food. So the Trail Loop here, this is a really nice high quality band. Tighten it down to your wrist and make sure that you get those ECG readings and blood oxygen readings. What I actually akin this band to is something medical grade. It's really comfortable. It swells when your wrist swells, so it's great for being on the trail and being active that way. But where it fails, and where the Alpine Loop also fails, because the Alpine Loop, even though it's more rugged, is still sort of that fabric material. Where this fails, where the Ocean Band exceeds, is the ability to eat and prepare food with the watch on your wrist. This Trail Loop, not so ideal for preparing food. Imagine cooking poultry or fish or raw ground beef. The odor and the bacteria in something like a raw piece of meat will easily get absorbed into this watch strap. So just something to keep in mind. What I typically do when I sit down to eat, or if I'm preparing food, I take it off. It's not worth it. It will absorb that bacteria, and most importantly will eventually absorb the sort of rotten, fleshy smells and become disodored. Point number 4, and this is a clear dislike. It is, however, my own personal opinion, so take this with a grain of salt, but one color I hate now that I've worn Apple Watch Ultra for 3 months is the color orange. I am sick of the color orange. And that's because, yes, this watch, like I said, is titanium and sapphire crystal, and because of that can be dressed up and worn out and used in more upscale occasions. But where it does indeed fail and retain that rugged appearance, not something formal looking, is, like I said, the color orange, which can be found all over. So it's got orange on the digital crown, it's got an orange action button on the side, and with this trail loop in particular, this one in gray has the orange pull tab. So the best way to embrace this, I think, just a little bit of a tip, is to either get the trail loop in orange and sort of, like I said, just embrace it. There are some third-party bands you can get in orange and other colors, and like I said, because some of those bands come in other colors, find colors that complement orange, which is a slippery slope, but it can be done and does sort of neutralize that orange, which, like I said, is just all over the watch, which just does not go away. One thing I wish Apple would have done is just simply not used it at all. So, in continuation with our Apple Watch Ultra 1 month review, this is point number 5. And point number 5 is a lack of bands. 3 category of watch band on applewatch.com. Each are $100 a piece, which is pricey. The Apple Watch Ultra can apparently use the 45mm strap for the Series 8, depending on the use case, especially if it's for endurance, like hiking, biking, surfing. The sport band for the Apple Watch Ultra Series 8 is not good enough. These are good bands for keeping the watch secure on your wrist. Like I said, lack of bands, and because those bands are most appropriate for being outdoors and rugged, there is a lack of dress type bands. And also, what you'll notice, actually shopping for third-party bands, Amazon is always the go-to place. The bands that you can find on Amazon look like what you get on Apple's website at a fraction of the price. I have yet to test them, but my guess is probably not as good of quality. So in summary, a lack of bands on Apple's website and sucky third-party bands. Point number 6, even if the Apple Watch is relatively pointless, worthless, it does still offer more features over the aluminum or steel versions, the Series 8 and definitely the SE, which is the cheapest model. With the Apple Watch Ultra, you get recreational diving to 40 meters or 130 feet. It has 100 meters water resistance, which is 300 feet. And compare that to half on the Series 8, which is 50 meters. It does have an action button, which you can program to enable a feature. I have mine programmed to start a workout. One thing kind of annoying is it is easy to accidentally toggle a workout, and so what I find is most of the workouts actually in the activity app are pointless, irrelevant, have no data, and it's because of accidental presses. This watch, compared to the Series 8, has been military standard tested to 8, 10 each. Not sure exactly what that means. What I do know is that the materials themselves were tested in a variety of extreme environments: cold, hot, wet. Basically, I think what this means, and probably does, basically what this means, I think, is use the watch, don't worry about breaking it. It does have a depth gauge, and it does activate. If you take this in the shower, it detects the water and it activates, but not all the time. And that's because I'm not submerged. That is something you would use scuba diving, snorkeling, free diving maybe, stuff like that. In all, compared to the Apple Watch Series 8 and Series SE, which is the least expensive model at $250, the Apple Watch Series 8 is between $450 and $700. The Apple Watch Ultra, even though not as customizable with the straps and stuff, does still offer more utility over the Series 8 and SE respectively. Point number 7. Out of all the features I mentioned the Apple Watch Ultra having over the Series 8, there is a feature that I leave out, and that's because it deserves to be a point of its own. And that is the fact the Apple Watch Ultra has 2,000 nits peak brightness compared to just 1,000 on the Apple Watch Series 8. And me being active and going outdoors regularly, riding my bike, commuting on my bike to work, being able to see this watch in the direct sunlight is undoubtedly important. A couple of months ago, I reviewed the iTouch Air 3 smartwatch, which is just a cheap, generic knockoff smartwatch. It was $60. I bought it at Target. That watch probably has a peak brightness of 3, 4, maybe 500 nits, and seeing it outdoors is nearly impossible at times. This being 2,000 nits, in direct sunlight, you can see it perfectly. Also, one feature that needs to be pointed out and mentioned is the flashlight feature, which might seem kind of gimmicky, but actually coming home at night, unlocking my door in the pitch black, being able to simply toggle the flashlight and have up to 2,000 nits peak brightness makes that a simple task to do. But also, I found out riding my bike at night, maybe up to the convenience store to get something to eat, like a snack, some potato chips, whatever it may be, riding my bike at night, crossing streets or roads, actually riding the bike with the flashlight enabled makes me more visible. And also, going out on a limb here, if you're walking out of the store at night through the parking lot, you have this on your wrist and someone approaches you and you don't know who they are or what they look like, this can also serve as a pretty good deterrent, almost like having a lightsaber on your wrist. You could easily blind somebody or strain them in the eyes by simply flashing this in their face. 8. This one is nitpicky, but one thing I noticed that can happen if you're not paying attention, and if you've used an iPhone before, maybe you have left an iPhone in your pocket, walked through the rain, spilled some water on your pants, and had your iPhone in your pocket, the water does enable the touchscreen, and this is kind of nitpicky, but being that this watch is water resistant, and it does have the capability to water lock. It's a feature you can swipe up from the settings, quick settings, and tap the teardrop. But if you maybe forget and get caught in the rain, the water beating down on the display will activate features and press things. So yes, this is a water resistant watch, but because it's a touchscreen and because touchscreens are sensitive to water, getting caught in the rain, which is something simple, can actually maybe trigger something you didn't want. Probably not a big deal, but just kind of a faux pas. Minor annoyance, minor inconvenience. 9. So even if number 8 was nitpicky, there is something that might also be nitpicky. It's not a huge issue. It goes away and corrects itself, but Using this in a pool, at the beach, if you come out of the shower with it, get caught in the rain with it, the speaker does actually become muffled.
This is a sample recording with a dry speaker. This is a sample recording with a wet speaker.
It will become muffled if exposed to water. Point number 10, and this one probably not an issue, but for me it's something kind of odd, and I thought it would be important to note. Now, like I said earlier, I told you you can download up to 50 watch faces. So what I did was download a watch face from each category. But sometimes I use the watch to listen to music. And also, what I didn't tell you from that first point about downloading the 50 watch faces was that I downloaded them but did not customize them. I wanted to use the watch sort of unadulterated. When you download a watch face, you can customize the complications to whatever you want, but to give you the most valuable feedback, what I planned on doing was downloading the watch faces and using them as Apple intended. And like I said, because I downloaded 50 of them, I found myself experimenting with them and trying to find out which watch face worked in which situation and so on and so forth. And sometimes when I listen to music with my AirPods, maybe I'm on the bus, maybe I'm at work, what I do find is that none of the watch faces have the music complication except for the GMT watch face. Thought that was kind of interesting, given that Apple sort of started off with music, with the iPod, with the iTunes store. All the other watch faces, you have to customize them to have the music complication. Point number 11. So throughout this video, we've talked about ways to best use the Apple Watch Ultra, where I think it works best and where I think it works worst. We've talked about the lack of bands. We've talked about the features over the Series 8. But actually, to sort of round this review off, I sometimes use this as a pocket watch. So many reviews you'll see people talk about how the watch works, and they demonstrate using it on their wrist. Well, to come to some of the conclusions that I've come to in this video, I also use this as a pocket watch. And actually it's great to use as a pocket watch, especially if you have the trail loop, which I have. And that's because it folds up so easily. It's compact, it's Velcro. You can actually sort of fold it up and make it really compact. But either way, at the end of the day, that's what you're looking at in your back pocket, in your front pocket. And what's actually cool is reaching into your pocket, you can sort of pull it out by the strap itself. And at the beginning of this point here, you probably noticed me holding the watch around my fingers like this with the strap. Again, if you travel without your iPhone like I experimented with, and if you, for whatever reason, take the watch off and have it in your pocket, you can use it this way, and it's actually great. So you have it maybe sort of strapped around your fingers like this, and then you can just sort of, speak to text, use the QWERTY keyboard with swipe, send text messages, check email, do whatever you need to do. As long as it's unlocked, it stays unlocked, and then as soon as you slide it off your wrist, it immediately locks. You can put it back in your pocket. So this actually works great as a pocket watch, but the only way that it works as a pocket watch is with the trail loop and probably the alpine loop, but probably not the ocean band. I've used the ocean band at the Apple store, and it's kind of stiff and rigid. It's better laying flat, the ocean band, not something you would want to just sort of, fold away, tug up, and slide in your pocket or maybe backpack pocket, whatever you need to do. What I found was using this as a pocket watch is actually fantastic. And point number 12 is battery life. If I have maybe 20-25% battery left and I want to go for a bike ride but don't feel like charging the watch before I go, I can easily go for that bike ride as long as it's no more than a couple hours. And actually, if it were probably 2, 3, 4 hours, I might still be okay. And that is because it has good battery life. And going, without the iPhone on cellular connection, I can easily get 2 days of battery life with this watch, being outdoors with it, having it in my pocket, listening to music, sending text messages, whatever the case may be, it has good battery life. Not something you can rely on going on an extended trip far away from your house, but good enough that you can rely on it going without your cell phone, even in a pinch with 20% left. And also, batteries wear, as we all know, so a year from now, 2.5, 3 years from now, of course the battery will degrade, but there is a silver lining. And actually, taking the watch off, you'll notice behind the casing are pentalobe screws that allow you to remove it and what I presume change the battery, upgrade it. Probably best done through an Apple authorized retailer. So that being said, I think that pretty much does it for this Apple Watch Ultra 1 month review. This has great battery life. So to summarize everything, it's extremely versatile, but most importantly, what I would best describe this watch as is an iPhone on the wrist. This is nothing more than an iPhone on the wrist. Trying to think of this as a watch like a tool watch, like a Rolex, for example, which is an extremely durable watch, right? It's built out of these ultra premium materials. You'll need to bring your charger with you. So, like I said, it's an iPhone for the wrist. Don't look at this as a watch. Don't compare this to a watch. Really, just think of this as having the most important features on iPhone on your wrist, and then some. And actually, one point that I do leave out, and actually this is extremely important, if you use this with cellular, if you take calls, if you talk to people on the phone out in public, get a pair of AirPods to use it with, because otherwise it uses the speaker and people can hear you. Okay, that is this 3-month review for the Apple Watch Ultra. In it, we talked about 12, 13 or so points. In summary, this is an iPhone for the wrist, and Apple did a really good job with this. It has all the same features as the Series 8 has, and then some, but it does lack, and we talked about what this lacks. Go ahead and rewind the video and watch this over to get the full comprehensive understanding using the Apple Watch Ultra after 3 months. I picked this up at Best Buy. It was $800, and so far so good. Let's check back in maybe 6 months from now, a year from now, to see how the watch stands the test of time. For now, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is John. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment down below for more, hit the bell icon to get notified when we post YouTube, and share this video with friends and family. Thanks again so much for tuning in. My name is John. This has been a 3-month review of the Apple Watch Ultra. I will see you in the next video.